Thanks for joining us again today. Welcome to another, what I will refer to as an episode, I guess. I've got quite a few of these on my YouTube channel. Interview series where we get to talk to franchise founders, franchise operators, franchise development people, and even some franchisees. Today, I have one of the partners of Building Kidz Schools to talk to us about how they view the franchise world, their opportunity, and just to talk about, you know, one of these places that a lot of people I don't think about a lot is a really good business opportunity, even if you're not into preschools or schools currently. So it's with that, and of course, I'm John. I should always say that. I guess sometimes I assume, but you can find me at thatfranchiseguy.com or LinkedIn, that franchise guy. And today I have with me Sanjay Gehani, who is one of the partners with Building Kidz Schools. And yeah, Sanjay, with that, let me introduce you and just go ahead and talk a little bit about your background and introduce yourself.
No, sure, John, man. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and for giving us a platform to share our story. Look, I thought I was going to be the first Indian in the major leagues, and when that didn't work out, I got a degree in electrical engineering, got into corporate America, came back to Silicon Valley where I was raised. Worked there for about 15 years, picked up an MBA along the way, got married along the way. And my son was born, in October of 2012. And I was traveling about 17 weeks out of the year, Europe and Asia, managing a portfolio of business. And I actually thought I was going to stay in corporate America for the rest of my career, but I really wanted to be home for dinner. I really wanted to be home as a father. As a husband, like the travel kind of worked. Like we still stayed connected, even though I was traveling quite a bit. As a son, as a brother, the travel worked. We stayed connected, but I really felt like if I wanted to give my child the same experience that my parents gave me, where they made my sister and I feel like the center of the universe, there was no substitute for me being present.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to be home. And so I had that in mind, and that's kind of where, I think we'll probably get into it here in a little bit, but that's kind of where I had the opportunity to learn a lot more about building kids and transition out of corporate America back in 2014.
Well, I definitely want to talk more about Building Kidz, but and I don't think you and I have ever talked about this, but I believe I was maybe 35 or 40 years old where I finally gave up February 15th or so every year that the call didn't come through with an invitation to spring training in Tempe with the Angels. I always thought, what are they missing? I'm their guy. They need a shortstop. I'm their guy. But yeah,
I know, yeah, I know the feeling.
Is
Yeah, for me, it was a D2 college where my career ended, and
yeah,
that's a totally different podcast. Great
that's
story on
right.
how that ended. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we'll have to get into that one another time for sure. So, talk to us about, how did Building Kidz get started, and where do they fit into, the franchise world, but also, of course, with the competition in the preschool world.
Sure, sure. Building Kids started back late 2003, and primarily because of a mother who had to take care of her child. Vanita Bandari, the founder of Building Kids, her daughter was diagnosed with juvenile diabetes, removed from her preschool because they couldn't take care of her. And Vanita had a flourishing career in consulting, master's in finance. I've been in corporate America for a bit and was growing in her career. She chose to take some time off just to address the situation at hand. And during that time off, she decided she wanted to dedicate herself to creating an environment for her daughter that was going to feel more normal for her. And so she said, well, if she can't go to a preschool, I'll just open up my own. And it's very entrepreneurial in spirit, an incredible businesswoman. But she hadn't flexed those muscles before. And so she kind of got into it, opened up our first Building Kids campus in Pacifica, California. And what she realized was a few things pretty quickly. Number one, she had found her passion. This was really what she wanted to do. Number two, she needed a bigger school because she had filled up so quickly, and the demand was really high for preschools. And number three, she wasn't really sure that she was confident that she knew what she was doing. She wanted to go back to school, get a degree in early childhood education, get a little bit more comfortable with, the vernacular, just the things that like the teachers are being trained on, and so she could really bond a little bit more with the director and the teachers, and really, have a more cohesive relationship with everybody within the school. So she went back to school. While she went back to school, she started investigating different types of learning concepts for children, different philosophies for early childhood education. You may have heard of like Montessori or Reggio Emilio or play based. And so she really fell in love with this idea of a creative based philosophy, but being raised with the performing arts the way she was, she really felt like that was missing from a lot of curricula that were out there and philosophies that were out there for children. And so she started integrating music, dance, and theater. That was like the first version of the
Hmm.
Building Kids curriculum. Now, she started with that one school in 2004, and by 2013, she had 5 or 6 campuses that were operational in the Bay Area. She had revised the curriculum significantly. Also learned a lot with regards to the expansion because getting real estate in Silicon Valley or in the Bay Area can be challenging at times. And, when you look at some of these traditional preschool models, 8,000 square feet, 10,000 square feet, especially in the franchise space, that becomes a pretty significant investment. But what she was seeing in the Bay Area was that she was seeing a lot of preschools in various physical settings. And so, really being able to customize and create a world-class environment for children in various physical settings became a skill set that she had developed over time. And so, by 2014, she's got 5 or 6 schools. She's revised the curriculum a few times, and that's kind of where our paths really crossed. As I kind of mentioned, after my son was born, I was kind of thinking about, hey, what could I do to be home for dinner? And I, on a parallel path, I started looking at preschools in April, May of 2013. Just because my son was 6 months old, and I was thinking, hey, it might be good to get him into a good preschool when he turns two. And as I was trying to look at preschools in the Bay Area, I kind of binned them into 3 categories. No way would I ever. I would if I had to, and I absolutely want to. Right. And every school that I absolutely wanted to put my son into had an 18-month wait list. And so it got me thinking about this hypothesis that parents are not choosing to put their children in substandard environments. They're being forced to put their children in substandard environments because they need to go to work and they don't have an option and they just
Yeah.
have to do it. And so that got me thinking about like just kind of the difficult decisions that parents are making right around me in my community, in the communities around me. And with that in mind, I walked into Building Kids in June of 2013, and I just fell in love with everything they were doing. The music class, and obviously I was there for a tour, and so the music class was going on, dance class was
Yeah.
going on, another class, and they're kind of showcasing everything. And Vanita Bandari was in her office at that time. Now, um, I used to call Vanita Auntie growing up because she's a family friend. She's known my parents for a long time, known me since I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
But ever since we started doing business together, she's like, "Hey, you gotta, quit calling me Auntie because we're doing business together." Right? So,
Right.
so, uh, so,
And
so
now
now I
you just
call,
shared that with the world, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah, hey, I'm nothing but authentic.
right. I love
Yeah.
it.
And so, yeah. And so, look, I said, hey, okay. At the time, I was like, hey, Beninachi, this is amazing. What are you doing? You got 5 schools, 6 schools. You're doing amazing things for children. What's the vision here? What's the plan? And she's like, I want to touch the lives of 1 million children in my lifetime. And I said, wow, dude, that's amazing. That's something, and I said, are you home for dinner? She's like, yeah. I said, oh my gosh. And I started having all these different ideas started popping up in my mind. And, a real movement for me on the entrepreneurial side where I started thinking, I should be thinking more about um, how do I create this environment for myself, for my family, where
Yeah.
I can play these different roles and create the future that I want versus um, having to sacrifice to be able to provide for the family. And and so I'm thinking of all these things I'm saying. And we had a great conversation. I fell in love with this idea of touching the lives of 1 million children. We were really talking about how she was going to do it and grow. And we're having this great conversation. I said, hey, how about you give me an opportunity to join you on this journey and let me invest? I've made the corporate American investments in real estate, stock market, things like that. But I'd really like to invest in a small business. And she gave me the landing that I needed. She said, look, your son's on the wait list. He'll be joining us in January of 2015. Why don't you come and start working with me while you're still at Xilinx? But if you decide that you want to be a partner here, you're going to have to walk away from your career. Otherwise, whatever money you invest, I'll give it back to you as if it was a short-term loan, but you're not keeping an equity stake in my company and doing this part-time. So I'll give you a chance to come in and work with me. She said, I'd love to work with you. I don't need your money. I would love to work with you. And so she really opened up her arms and gave me the opportunity that I really wanted so that I could provide for the family and be home as well. And so along the same time, my other business partner, Sangeet Garamchandani, who's Vanita's nephew,
Okay.
so this is truly a family business,
Yeah.
right? He he was in corporate America, high tech, masters in engineering, customer facing roles, just fantastic person. And he was thinking about doing something different as well. So he started, investing as well, and together we almost doubled the footprint of, we went from, Vanina and I, we have this discussion all the time. I say, oh, we went from 5 to 10. She's like, no, I had 6, and we went to 10. So we always have this debate, but we, from my perspective, we doubled our footprint in about 14 months. And Sangeet and I both left our careers in corporate America, and I took some time off, about a month off, and we sat down together in November of 2014, and we put touch the lives of 1 million children up on the whiteboard. How are we going to do it? And we came out of that meeting with an understanding that there were 3 ways that we're going to do it. And number one, we were at a company-owned campuses. We're helping children, helping families every day. Okay, great. Number two, we needed to become a world-class franchisor and welcome amazing people that shared our culture, for creating exceptional environments for children, who wanted to make a passion play, leave a legacy for their family and the communities that they want to serve, as well as an economic legacy for their families, to join us on this journey. But then Vanita had another idea, and Sangeet and I internalized it. But it was 100% her idea, which was, instead of just helping the children that are coming in through our doors, we should be helping children holistically. So why don't we dedicate 25% of our profits to helping underprivileged children right here at home and around the world? So orphaned and abandoned children, children with hearing disabilities, vision impairment, juvenile diabetes research, donating money there. That was near and dear to her heart. And Sangeet and I, we just fell in love with that idea. We thought it was just so much more meaningful than just the work that we were doing with regards to the operations of preschool and the great things we were trying to do for our teachers and for the children. And so we embraced and said, okay, let's embark on this journey. And pretty quickly, we opened up the 501(c)(3), Building Futures Worldwide. And by the grace of God, hard work, good luck, we've been profitable since 2016, since we launched as a preschool
Yeah.
concept. And so we were able to dedicate 25% of our profits to that nonprofit.
That's awesome.
And well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that was continued till October of last year, and I'll share with you why that date's important. So we embarked on that, and we started franchising in 2016. And prior to that, I thought, how hard could this be? Getting a disclosure document out. God, there was
Jeez.
at that time there was more franchising in the United States than the rest of the world combined. And so,
Yeah.
from my perspective, like, this is like a proven model. This is a mature industry. I'm used to doing business in Germany and in Croatia and in India, and
Yeah.
China. Like, how hard could this be? I was dead wrong. And but it was a blessing because I ended up meeting, our director of franchise development right now, who's the president of Franchise Beacon. I ended up meeting him in 2015 at an IFA conference, and he asked me, we met me outside and we just started talking. And he's like, "Oh, so what are you guys doing?" I said, "Oh, we're about to start franchising. I'm getting my FTD done." He's like, "Oh, great." He's like, "You have an item 19?" I said, "An item what?" And he said, "Here's my business card. I might be able to help you out. I think you're a good guy, and all this stuff." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, sure. Okay,
Right.
Michael. Yeah, sounds good." Well, as soon as I got my disclosure document done, I sent it over to him. And this is obviously pre Chat GPT, pre
Oh yeah.
LLM stage. Within 45 minutes, he tore it up so bad. And I was just like, I had thought I had my feet up on my desk. I'd crossed the finish line. I'm ready to go to market. And within 45 minutes, he had sent me an email back. Within 5 minutes, I called him up and said, "Can we start working together?" He's one of the best franchise development people in the country.
Yeah.
He's got a best-selling book on it. I mean, he's a veteran, just an amazing human being. And so I was very fortunate that I met him and our general counsel through that relationship. That I call him a general counsel, but he's
Yeah.
outsourced counsel through that relationship. And so that helped us avoid a lot of pitfalls that early franchisors would have just stepped into and got stuck in, and just gave us such a tremendous opportunity for growth. And, so today, about a month ago, we signed our 100th agreement.
Yeah.
We've won some awards along the way. Entrepreneur Magazine's Top 500. We've shown up twice on there. Entrepreneur Magazine's Top 100 Emerging Franchisors. We showed up there. We've won some other awards along the way, which has been, exciting. We've grown as an organization. We've got 49 franchise locations across 11 states. We've got 9 company-owned campuses right now. So there's a lot of room
Yeah.
for growth. It's a lot of green space or blue sky or any way you want to look, white space. There's a lot of that still.
Well, this
Uh,
is, yeah, no, I don't even know that I had the full backstory on how Building Kids got started and some of the passions around it, but it's certainly an industry where passion for children and passion
mm,
for excellence uh, makes a difference. And when you're building fences or signs or burgers or whatever, it sometimes passion doesn't come into play. But I think from the perspective, at least of leadership, it's important. And for 20 plus years, have been able to maintain that too, and going forward. So that's awesome. I think maybe a place to kind of take a little turn here is to touch on. So people who watch these videos, obviously they're searching the internet. They've come to me. They're like, what's right for me? So, when you compare what building, and I do want to talk about the differences between, what Building Kids is doing and other preschools. I think that's really important. But even just the industry, why would somebody look at children and educating them as compared to fast food or, home service business or something like that?
I mean, I think, the baseline's profit, and then right above that is passion. If you're passionate about burgers, you're in an amazing country. Our country will give you so many opportunities to, like, you have so many franchise opportunities.
Yeah.
Just follow your passion. I think authenticity is incredibly important in whatever you do.
Yeah.
And so if you look at it, it's not just about children, but if you believe in servant leadership, if helping others or creating an environment that's providing peace to parents in your community where they feel it's not a Building Kids campus that matters, it's your school happens to be called Building Kids. The best franchisees in the family here are the ones that are the brand themselves locally,
Yeah.
and so they're authentically, expressing themselves through their business. They're saying, "Dude, this is my passion. I love the fact that you trust me to bring your child over to help me give them a head start in life. Now, we're not just a drop off and pickup center. We're going to accelerate your child's development."
Hmm.
Right. And so to trust us with that, or to trust you as a franchisee with that, and to say, "Hey, yeah, this is a meaningful business." There are going to be children that are going to be coming up to you and families that are going to be coming up to you the rest of your life thanking you.
Yeah.
You're going to run into them in the grocery store. You're going to run into them at the baseball field. You're going to run into them, on a walk around
Yeah.
your community. So those are the type of things, that interest you, where you say, hey, I want to take my set of skills and not only leave a legacy, an economic legacy for my family that could last generations, but a legacy for my family name and the community that I'm serving. I want to be a pillar of this community.
Yeah.
Those are the people that I'm attracted to share this business with, and those are the people that tend to be attracted to us as well because yeah, I mean the numbers are fantastic. They're there, but they're only fantastic if you're fantastic, if the people are fantastic, if you got a world in the you can't create a world class experience without world class people,
Well,
right?
you led with profit, and I'm glad you clarified and maybe explained that in a little more detail because I think that and it is really true with any business, but probably no more so than working with kids or educating kids in particular and their development. Um, and that is that passion for it and for being that just what was Al Davis used to talk about the Raiders, right? Commitment to excellence.
Yeah,
And it's three words, but it conveys a lot. And I think that in many businesses, the profit comes if you commit to excellence. If you commit to being excellent in your community, excellent for yourself, but when you start looking at the preschool space, and we have to be careful, obviously, talking about numbers, the franchise laws and stuff like that. So if you're new to my videos or franchising, apologize. We can't promise you the moon here, but we do have ways to help you get the information you need as you go forward in whatever discovery process you're looking at. But we don't want to put that out here. So um, just know that for somebody who does commit to excellence in the space and with building kids, you'll be very happy with what you deliver and what
yeah,
comes to you, right? But I think that it's even beyond what you make for your family financially. It's the experience and the personal growth and that legacy you talked about, being somebody that's looked up in your community. So um, let's break that down a little bit more because I work with, as a consultant, representing hundreds and hundreds of brands. A number of them are in the daycare preschool space. So, um, but I really don't do a lot of work with the rest of them. And there's a reason for that. So that's why we're here today to talk about, what is different about building kids. You touched on the footprint a little bit and the investment. I think that's part of it. But what's unique to me, or very interesting to me, is how do you get the same type of financial results with maybe a lower investment or less of a footprint in some cases, or does that fit to anyway? I'm getting into your space now, so I'll let you take over, but talk to us a little bit about what makes building kids different, not just the curriculum, but with the overall opportunity.
sure. No, I think there's a lot that makes us different. We've kind of turned franchising a little bit on its ear. I think, as you know, John, with your experience in franchising, it's really about, especially in a box, like in the retail side, it's, hey, this is my footprint. Let me go find the same demographics, diversity, economics, whatever I'm looking for around the United States, and then let me replicate that, and that's how I scale up. And as I mentioned earlier, like really finding real estate in the Bay Area was a challenge. It ended up becoming a skill set that Vanita, kind of developed and then passed on to Sangeeta and myself, and then we developed together. Where we wanted to really take real estate off the table when
Mm.
we were growing, and so we wanted to stretch that out to make it a value proposition for our franchisees. So what does that mean? Like if you take a look at other preschool franchises in our country, they're gonna obligate you to a certain size. They say, hey, you're gonna get a 10,000 square foot building, whether it's leased or owned.
Yeah.
But this is the size, and it's got to look like this, and it has to have, everything's got to be branded the same. Our first and foremost thing is it's your school. It's called Building Kids, but none of our schools look the same. We're open in churches, standalone buildings, retail centers, converted homes, first floor of a business complex, first floor of an apartment complex. Smallest footprints, 1,500 square feet, largest over 13,000. It does a few things for us beyond just real estate flexibility. It gives me an opportunity, and Vanita and Sangeet and everyone else here, to do business with people we want to break bread with, the people that we really share a culture with, the common view of like how this business should be run, because those people don't always come in with $5, $10 million balance sheets and and
Sure.
access to $2 million investments, $7 million investments. But yet you can absolutely reduce your initial investment and not compromise long-term profitable business or profitability. Um, and everything kind of scales. So whether it's all about reducing wastage and providing a world-class experience that commands a very high tuition rate. So when you provide an exceptional environment, and that's another big differentiator of Building Kidz. It's not just, oh, I can buy a piece of dirt, build a campus, fill it up. That's one option. I can have a various settings, a size, footprint, and repurpose a pizza restaurant or a bank, or repurpose parking spots into playgrounds and put a preschool up where it wasn't. It's not just I can buy a school that's for sale and
Yeah.
market and rebrand it. You can do that too with our model. But it's also, what are you providing on campus and the flexibility we provide there. So all of our campuses provide services ages 2 through 5, but then our franchisees have the option of infant and toddler services and after school up until 6th grade. And we have full operational support, curriculum for that, marketing support. So we provide some flexibility there. But what parents really love and what really makes us different on site, outside of the initial investment being some of the lowest in the country in this space,
Mm.
outside of the margin numbers being some of the best in our country in this space, um, is what is happening on campus is so different than any other school that you'll see around. And so obviously at a very baseline level, we have a developmentally appropriate curriculum, which on its own could compete, with other preschools based on the creative philosophy. And then we start stitching in different things. We stitch in music, dance, theater. And that's just not at circle time when you have a teacher in front with 10 or 12 children and, oh, let's sing a song, or let me play this one instrument. We have two music classes, two dance classes, a theater class every week where the children are learning to express themselves in different ways. Whether it's through the arts, right? I'll express myself through dance or through singing or through acting and mimicking.
Right.
And I'm talking about 2-year-olds here, 2.5-year-olds that are doing this, right? We also integrate a lot of that earlier into children. So, like our children that are just starting to waddle, we'll give them different songs or different beats to dance to accelerate their motor skill development of balance. Our infants and toddlers are listening to music frequently because it accelerates neurological development. And so there's this whole structure that's built on a tremendous amount of medical research,
Mhm.
right, about how this benefits human development. So as you're growing up through Building Kidz, like now at 2.5 years old, not only are you getting all the performing arts classes, you're getting up on stage twice a year. You're doing a Broadway style production. And some of these, children are like, they're collaborating with their peers towards a common goal. So they're learning about that as a great skill set. But they're also getting up on stage in front of people twice their size, John. It's like you and me performing in front of people 12 feet tall, right?
Right.
I mean, and sometimes they're up on stage, and it's 30 seconds. My son's first performance at Building Kidz was about 45 seconds long. Saw my wife, myself, my parents in the front row, ran off stage, sat in my lap, ended with my wife and him dancing on stage with everybody else. 6 months later, he was singing his own solo. So I've seen it kind of firsthand, right? So gained a lot of confidence through that. We also have a semi-immersive Spanish program, so it's not fully immersive where the whole thing's in Spanish, but it's also not, oh, this is blue, this is the color one in Spanish.
Yeah.
It's not that either. It's not memorization. So our children at 5 are dialoguing now. they're not talking their entire day in Spanish, but they're not dreaming in Spanish most likely.
Right.
But what they're doing is they're dialoguing, they're processing, they're taking input, and they're collecting their thoughts and saying, "Hey, this is how I want to respond in Spanish." So semi-immersive Spanish programs integrated there. We have a full curriculum called Learning Through Life Experiences. A perfect example of this is we have structures throughout our campus. One of them is like a grocery store. And so we have a curriculum that turns over every 8 weeks. And one sample of this is one child is a customer, the other one's a checkout clerk. So we tell the customer, we give her some money and we give her a list and say we give her directions. Please go out and go to this grocery store, which she can walk into. It's like, maybe 4 feet by 6 feet grocery store, and pick out healthy foods. So she walks in, makes a decision, what foods are healthy, which ones aren't, has to make sure she has enough money, has to do a little bit of math to make sure she has enough money to make this purchase. Now she goes to the checkout clerk. The checkout clerk's got to make some eye contact, converse a little bit, do a little bit of math, and return an appropriate amount of money to the customer and walk out. Very simple example, but it gives the child more confidence of engaging in society
Yeah.
because of this, right? So, and by the way, as the kids get older, it's not like we don't do any academics. Like, I mean, we just do it through music and dance. So all of our children are exceeding the academic and developmental expectations of elementary schools when they walk in. We track those in every community that we serve and backtrack in to make sure that, hey, are we exceeding these expectations for all of our children? It's just the way we go about doing it isn't through memorization, isn't through sitting down, isn't through like just following. It's through thinking, it's through movement, it's through the arts. And so that's what makes us extremely different on campus. And once you
Yeah.
get world class teachers to deliver that experience, there's nothing like it.
I bet it's more fun for the teachers too than working in a traditional environment, right? And I'm glad you clarified that over the last couple minutes because the first at first talking about building kids, it almost sounds like it's a performing arts school, right? And
Right.
but I think it's important, and I'm glad that you got into the other stuff because it's really, I don't know, what would you call it, like a whole child development program
Yeah.
or experience. I mean, yeah,
Emotional, social, cognitive,
confidence, yeah,
linguistic,
yeah,
physical, academic, confidence, commitment, character are the
all
three
that.
are the three C's that we
Yeah,
focus on. But you're absolutely right, John. I mean, it is meant for the holistic development of
yeah.
children, and we assess that. This isn't some wet finger in the air, like, oh, this is the way the wind's blowing. We have full assessments and how on how we assess the development of our
Yeah.
children in our care, how we communicate that to parents, the technology that we
Well,
use.
let's
There's all that. Yeah,
let's talk a little bit about, and I know we've gone long, but this is really, really good stuff. So I hope the viewer here is bearing with us because we are going to wrap it up, but I do want to talk about somebody who's watching this and thinking, wow, this is really, really, I want to send my kids there, but I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I've got it in me to be an owner in that space because this is
sure,
overwhelming.
sure.
Um, I mean, they don't have to have a background in teaching or education or performing arts, right? What kind of person, what kind of people have come into the system and been successful? What are their backgrounds? What are they going to learn? How are you going to teach them what they need to know? Maybe spend a couple minutes on that.
Sure. Look, we recently recognized, I think it's been about 18 months now, that we were recognized as having one of the most diverse franchise systems in the country. And that goes beyond gender, ethnicity, age. That diversity is truly in the background of the franchisees coming from corporate America, small business, nonprofit, military. And all of the franchisees in the franchise family have one common thread that stitches across all of us. And that is we want to create world class environments for children. So, extroverted people who actually believe in like energy transfer, actually
Mhm.
release positive energy into the world, like to engage with others, are thoughtful from a planning perspective, make data driven decision making, but have a heart.
Hmm.
and are, where people are attracted to working with them. People that can manage small teams. You're not going to manage 100 people. You're going to have
Yeah.
one director, at a location, and you should be collaborating with that director for the rest of the staff, whether it's 25 people or 5 people. You shouldn't be in the weeds managing that team. Your director should be managing them. You should be
Hmm.
working with the director and working with us. But you should also be the face of the company, or the face of the school. You should be out in the community, meeting with your elected officials, with nonprofit organizations, other businesses targeting children and parents, your pediatricians, your pediatric dentists, like just building up, raising awareness and
Yeah.
knowledge so that people can, adopt Building Kids into their community. So those are the type of people that manage their finances well.
Yeah.
Those are the type of people that are thriving in the system and really expanding quickly.
So the bottom line is, it almost goes back to that passion, not necessarily for school or for kids, but just passion for people, right?
Yep.
Like they want to contribute to the world, and this is the vehicle, and all of the support, training, and backup that they're going to need. I mean, that's a great part about franchising, and I always clarify this or qualify it. When you get with a good franchise, there's probably 4,000 licensed in the U.S. at any given time, and certainly they are not all going to fit that bill. They're not all going to have a track record of success. They're not all, going to be able to show they built it with passion and built it with strategic intent. Um, you know, some of these ones that come out and sell 300 units in their first year, they get a lot of flash, they get a lot of press, and nobody follows up on them 5 years from now and realizes, two-thirds of them never opened, and half of those that did closed, and whatnot. So I digress, because I think the point or the takeaway should be, what Building Kids has built and how they built it, how you built it, I should say. Um, with that, let's talk just a hair about, what does it take to get started? I know, you've got a wide range because of the custom options that you've got. So maybe touch on that, and then just, 30, 60 seconds on anything that I didn't ask that you think is important that people take away today, in learning about building kids.
No, sure. Thanks, John. Yeah, so it's about 400 to 1.6 is a rough range
Right.
that we, based on the last year that we saw it took to open a school across our country. So, you know, um, as you mentioned, that can be incredibly like it varies just based
Hmm.
on size and what if there's some remodeling costs, things like that. But we will help you with that. We'll generate as a franchise candidate. I want you to cross three bridges. Number one, there's a passion for you. Number two, there's a market for a Building Kids campus in the community that you want to serve. And number three, Building Kids is the right company for you to be working with. Those are the three bridges I want you to cross. I'm going to be crossing similar bridges. Are you the right person to be the brand ambassador, the next brand ambassador for
Yeah.
this organization, this company that we've built and brought to this point? Is there a market for Building Kids in the community you want to serve? I want to arrive at that as well. And do you match our culture? Do we have a good cultural alignment? So as you're kind of once you get to that point, then join our franchise family. Give us a chance to transfer some knowledge to you, work with you. Every opportunity that comes across your desk as a franchisee, you'll be sharing with us. And then we're going to do a full 3 year pro forma on it, which includes competitive analysis, demographics, evaluation, very conservative projection rates, and then with full expenses built in to say, does this opportunity make sense to us? And then we share that with you so that you know that every step of the way we're with you, not only at the initial assessment, but the lease negotiations, the getting the site ready, overseeing that launch, post launch operational support. Every franchisee is going to have a lead for operations, a lead for marketing, and a lead for financial oversight. And what I would say is the one thing I'd want everyone to know as they kind of walk away from this is that Building Kids from a preschool perspective, the concept is just a vehicle for entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
We want to be mentors to you in the entrepreneurial journey. So access to capital, using the vehicle of building of a preschool to create profit and create a business that's exciting, but then preservation of that capital,
Yeah.
leveraging our relationships for all of that, and then the reinvestment of that. So really understanding the North Star of an entrepreneur not being, I want to open. That's not
Yeah.
the North Star. Where do we want to be 10 years from now?
Yeah.
Where do we want to be 5 years from now? Then where do we fit in?
I love it.
That's what I would like. That's what I would like anyone that's watching this to know, is that just consider this an opportunity,
Yeah.
towards reducing your risk and creating and maximizing your potential for a world-class business, and also creating an environment that most people say, hey, entrepreneurship is living your life like most people won't for a few years, so you can live the rest of your life like most people can't.
I love it.
Right?
I
That's
need to
the idea.
I
That's
need
the
to write that
idea.
down. Yeah. Well, yeah, this is awesome. And I know I can't get into details, obviously, privacy issues and stuff like that. But having worked directly firsthand on some stuff, I mean, I know your guys' commitment to franchisees and potential franchisees exceeds anything that I'm seeing on a day-to-day basis
Oh,
out there.
thank you.
Yeah, not
Thank you.
well,
That's a huge compliment. Thank you, John.
and anybody that I was to talk one-on-one, maybe I could get into a little bit of detail on that, or maybe by the time they were watching this, some of that stuff is all played out. But just watching how you have approached again both your existing franchise owners as well as people who are looking at it. Yeah, it's a big commitment, and not again, not every brand takes that commitment to the people that they partner with literally or directly or passionately or whatever word I'm looking for there. So I just it's a testimonial for me, I guess.
Well,
So
thank
with
you, John.
yeah, yeah.
That's so kind of you. I appreciate that.
With that though, I'll put a bow on this and bring us to an end for now. I will, Sanjay, thank you very much for all of the insights today about franchising, about entrepreneurship, about the Building Kids opportunity for sure. If you're watching this, thank you for staying with us all the way to the end. I hope you got some really good information out of it and are intrigued. If you are, you can go to John at thatfranchiseguy.com or just go to the website. It's there. Um, and we can talk more about your franchise journey, about if Building Kids is right for you, and certainly get you more information and hopefully ultimately get you introduced to the team and to Sanjay. So thank you again, Sanjay, for joining me today. I think this was fantastic.
Thank you for the opportunity, John.
Matt.